Hey gang, John Baccarelli here with your Lake St. Clair Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. It is Wednesday, October 11th. Water temperature down at Belle Isle is 58 degrees. So we did the report last week at this time. Water temperature was 68 degrees. So we're down a full 10 degrees in a week. That's a lot. Okay, so that's big changes on Lake St. Clair. And well, we'll get to what that means here in a minute. Weather forecast has got tomorrow probably being, well, I don't want to say it's the last good day of this week, but it's going to be the best day out of the next 4 or 5 days. And then maybe Friday still being decent, but it's going to really depend on what the winds do on Friday. It is supposed to switch around to be an east wind on Friday, and so it's going to really depend on how hard it blows. But you're definitely, if you have the opportunity and you're wanting to chase perch this week, I would get out there tomorrow and maybe not count on Friday, but if it turns out decent, take advantage of that too, because the perch bite has been just phenomenal. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. The guys are going out there. A shout out to Sam Buffa. He sent us some pictures. He was out off a 9 mile. Actually, he sent us the pictures like a day or so right after we did the last report. So I wanted to make sure I get it in there today. But Sam was they were just beautiful fish like all you guys have been catching. Lots of 9 and 10 inch fish. Lots of doubles when you're on the fish. Just great fish. And especially if you work your way and cull through your catch to get your best 25. Just some great catches out there. And then I just got a report right before we started shooting from Mike Martin Outdoors. And Mike got into him again today out there as well. And I was asking him, what the conditions like, water clarity and everything. And he said, perfect. So for you guys that are nervous because of all that wind and everything we had, it's kind of what I thought it would be. There was mostly offshore winds. They had the north winds early and then we had offshore, but it really didn't affect the water clarity to the negative side out where everybody's catching those fish. So water clarity is still good and water temperatures are down and the fish have got the feed bag on now. So let's talk a little bit about why the water temperature dropped so fast, okay? So we had a lot of wind, guys, and we had much cooler temperatures. And I'm going to say the words wind chill, and a lot of you folks are going to think, well, wind chill only has to do when it's like freezing cold outside, but that's not the case. Wind chill always is in effect, okay? It's just basically, it's like you're trading energy, you're trading joules of heat, okay? Basically is the way it works. And I know that's a little technical for a lot of you folks, but basically it's as easy as thinking about if you get a spoonful of hot soup, what do you do on it, right? You blow on it. Why do you blow on it? Because the air coming out of your mouth is cooler than the soup is. And so you're going to cool the soup off. Well, that's what's happening out there in the lake right now. The winds, the water, air temperatures have been cooler than the lake temperatures. And as it moves across the lake, it cools the soup off. It's cooling the lake off. And that will work all the way until the temperatures switch. And then what will end up happening is as the temperatures keep dropping back, like when we get down to below freezing temps, it'll just keep super cooling that lake. And the effect of the wind is just like you blowing on that spoon, right? So the more wind you have, the cooler the temps, the more energy that it sucks out of that lake, and the faster the temperatures fall. Now, on top of that, it's kind of a double whammy out here on St. Clair because you've got already cooler water up in Lake Huron. And when we get a north wind, it tends to push the water out of the lake. And I'm sure a lot of you noticed, or you will notice anyways, if you go down to the boat ramps or your docks, all that wind did push a lot of water out of that lake. So we did lose several inches of water, and sometimes it'll come back, sometimes it doesn't this time of the year. It really depends on what our rainfall is going to be. Sometimes we just end up with that imbalance all the way going into the winter. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that yet. Sometimes it just blew across to the other side of the lake and it comes back, kind of like a tide. But anyways, when we get a north wind, it blows that water out. It exchanges the warm water that was in the lake for that cooler water up in Lake Huron. That'll have an effect until everything gets to be about the same temperature, which we're really getting pretty close to right now. So that flushing effect is not going to have as big of an impact here, probably going forward as it did on this last blow. And the next big north blow, it looks like it's coming over the weekend, maybe Saturday, Sunday, and that's going to be another cool down. And looking at the regional weather, and I don't have a picture or anything of that, but it looks like we're going to stay in this same pattern for the foreseeable future, which means these Arctic blasts, and that's what this really is, even though it's not Arctic cold temperatures yet, but it's these Arctic air masses that are going to keep dropping down on us. If that keeps happening all the way through the winter, you know what that means. It means we're going to have great ice fishing, so let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that that's what actually happens. Now, the effects of the cooling off effect that we're getting right now out there is basically going to keep doing what it's been doing. The bite's going to keep getting better for most of the species out there. The schooling species like the perch and your other panfish, they're going to keep schooling up tighter and tighter because they're losing more and more cover out there. They're losing all the weeds, and they're going to continue to come in shallower, or at least not all the fish are going to come in shallower, but a good percentage of fish are going to continue to come in shallower. And that's a lot of times that's because the bait fish are moving in shallow as well, feeding on algae and all kinds of other stuff, but they're moving in shallower. And sometimes you get the effect of over by the spillway. And the spillway is actually going to become kind of like a warm water discharge in a way, where the water coming out of the spillway is going to be a little bit warmer than that lake water. That's going to draw species in like shad and some shiners, and that's going to concentrate perch. Sometimes about this time we'll start to get a good perch bite going in the spillway, but it definitely brings in fish like muskies. And that muskie bite now is going on the spillway. I've been getting reports of guys that have been hooking, seeing, and landing fish in the spillway, so that is going on. I will mention to you guys that have boats, if you have boats, if you're going to fish the spillway, give the guys that are fishing from shore some a little bit of respect. Give them some distance. Those guys can't really go anywhere else, so if you park right in front of them and cut them off, they're not going to be happy. So I did see a post online about that just a couple of days ago. So you guys with the boats, there's a lot of places you can fish, and you can definitely get well outside of the casting range of the guys fishing from shore. So, you know, cut the guys some slack that are shore bound and give them some room. If you are in a boat, there's no need to fish right there. You can basically cast at every point, every canal mouth along the lake and get the same effect. Even the different smaller canals that are up and down the lake, the bigger marinas down by the 9 mile, the nautical mile area, all of those corners and points will hold fish, especially on a west wind. If we get a west wind that picks up and you've had like a sunny day, those backwater areas and the marinas and these canals warm up, and you'll get an outflow coming out of these canals, and that'll concentrate bait fish out at the mouths of these canals, and that'll also concentrate predators like walleye, bass, and muskies too. So you can basically, if you're a muskie guy, you can almost turn into a bass fisherman this kind of year and poke around the shoreline and fish really shallow, and you can catch muskies all the way till ice up. And as it gets cooler and cooler, there's a pretty darn good nighttime bite for muskies out there too, and these fish at night will come into a couple of feet of water. That is not uncommon at all to catch muskies in 2, 3, 4 feet of water night fishing. I've done it many times casting for walleyes, because the walleyes will come in that shallow as well, up and down the lake. So walleyes, mentioned walleyes, right? Well, that's getting going too. The shore bite for the walleyes is definitely picking up already all along the American side for walleyes. It's about to explode down there by the Delphine. I don't think it's really busted loose yet, but now that we're down officially into the 50s, it's going to happen anytime now. And once it starts, that's going to go all the way till ice up too. And with the average size of the fish that we've had this year, it looks like it's going to be just a banner year down there for the walleye fishing. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, Crocker Road update. So I was down at Crocker Road today and shot a little video here. And as you can see, they are pulling out that, I guess it was a dam that they'd put in there to allow that the actual launch itself, all that concrete, to fully cure, and I think they sealed it as well. So they were pulling that out today. I panned around the parking lot, looked at the parking lot, and you could also see that basically the only thing that they've got to do now is put down the asphalt and then stripe it. So I'm hoping that they're going to stay on schedule, although I don't think the weather has been helping them, and definitely getting a bunch of rain isn't going to help them. But I'm guessing it would only take them a couple of days to actually pave that lot once they start. So keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully they can still make it in by the end of the month, which is what I was told that they were really trying for. So with that said, if you've got a chance to get out in the next couple of days here, either tomorrow or Friday, like I said, if the weather holds true, and cash in on the great perch fishing that we have out there right now on Lake St. Clair. Hey gang, if you like our content, hit the little subscribe button and the bell icon, and you'll be notified as soon as we put out new stuff.